My name's Max Pay. I'm from around this district now, living out just out of Dargaville here a bit. This is my new home. I hail from my whakapapa comes from whakapapa Maori over on the east coast, and this is an event that's concerning everybody in New Zealand, not just a single one or two race. So keep that in mind here, please. And again, save your questions and answers until the end. Thank you very much. All yours, Julian.
Thank you. Thanks, Tom. Thanks. Yeah, thank you for coming. You know what? I think it's a free speech country. And tonight I'm going to be speaking against co-governance, because that's what I believe. And you know, next week if somebody wants to come and speak for co-governance and they think it's great, welcome. Come on. We're going to have an open debate in our society about anything we want. And we let the people decide, nobody else. Right? Somebody shouldn't decide whether I speak. We've had a lot of people decide that, I shouldn't speak. They haven't even heard me. And I'm saying that we should have, everybody have the right to free speech in New Zealand, because that's what we Kiwis stand for.
Yep. Here.
Oh, come on, get excited, will you? Because you're not, you know what, we're not going to have a very good meeting if you're not very sure about anything. You don't need to be sure. One of the problems we have with Kiwis is they're not sure. They're sort of like, always on the fence. You can't be like that. You've got to be for something or against something. Because if you're not against something, well, you're not for something, you're nothing. You've got to have definite views about things, and you've got to make up your mind. Because we need that in this country. So I'm asking you to, if you want to tonight, to get enthusiastic. You're allowed to clap. You're allowed to get a bit animated. You're allowed to have some fun. Tea party. We can do better than that. You're allowed to clap. Come on, let's hear it. Okay, that's fantastic. All right, let's get on with tonight's PowerPoint show. And I start off by saying this, that, if this goes, why isn't it going properly? New Zealand is at war. I've chosen those words carefully. I've thought about them. New Zealand is at war. It's not with the Germans, it's not with the Japanese, it's not with the Chinese, although some people might say it is. It's a war that is being fought in New Zealand, on New Zealand turf, and we are fighting against. Let me get to the end, please, because I've paid money for this for today. It's my 1 hour. It's my 1 hour here. I've paid for the hall. I've paid for all the sound system and everything else. So if you would have some respect and not shout out until Thank you. Listen, I'm here because I've been asked to come here by people in the Dargaville area. And I'm going to speak tonight because it's my time. Your time can come next week or some other time, but right now, it's my time. So, it's 2023, New Zealand is at war. The Encyclopedia Britannica says this: war is a conflict between political groups involving hostilities of considerable duration and magnitude. I'm saying that this war that we've got in New Zealand now started in 1975. I've just written a book about it, and you've got the book in this little tiny thing that you've got here. You've got that book. And I talk about where it started, and it started in 1975. And it is listen, have some manners at the back, please. Have some manners. Show some respect. Come on. Have some manners. Have some respect. Yes, thank you. With whom are we at war? Well, we're at war with the media. The media is not telling you the truth. Let me tell you what happened with the media. When COVID came, we had 2 years where media outlets struggled to get a business. So what happened was, they blocked up expenses that were ongoing, but they had no income. They had to pay for leases, they had to pay for wages, and there was outgoings but no income. And so at the end of COVID, what happened was, these media outlets had considerable debt. So what the government did is they said, right, we're going to put up what they called a $55 million public interest journalism fund. Now that was a trick, because they said to media outlets, they said, if you sign up to this, we'll give you some free money. However, there are strings attached. You must promote Te Tiriti, Waitangi, and you must promote the Maori agenda for New Zealand. That's why you suddenly had Maori on TV, Maori being spoken on TV, Maori Torona being spoken on TV, on the radio, and so on. Right.
You are making this stuff up.
I have got the contract. I have got the contract on my website that you were required to sign. And do you know one of the only media outlets that did not sign it was Sean Plunkett and the platform. Because there are still people in this country who've got integrity in the media, but there's not many. There's only one or two, and Sean's one of them. So we're at war with the media. And the media won't report what's going on here, even though we have Radio New Zealand, and she's here. But you know what? Who knows what they're going to report? It's probably going to be clipped and pasted. It's going to be clipped and pasted, and it's going to show us in a terrible light. And you'll only see half of what I speak, and so on. Right?
Have a war with yourself.
We're at war with history-ignorant politicians. Between 1975 and now, we have had a series of politicians of all parties, Labour, National, and every single other one, who have been history-ignorant. And what they have done is they have passed legislation that has screwed New Zealand over. And so what we have here is we have politicians who, and I fear for us with the current crop of politicians we have, because they just accept what the Waitangi Tribunal says without fact-checking their recommendations. And so we have a problem. The next, my mouth is not going. We're warring against Maori activist journalists. Because I have Maori who write to me, and I'm talking about the only people that we're fighting. And you guys at the back who've got a lot to say, and you're doing a lot of, this and that. I'm telling you, we're not fighting against all Maori. We're not fighting against all Maori. Because I have friends who are Maori. I have business friends who are Maori. Here is one of my Maori friends right here. So I have mates who are Maori. I am fighting against a small minority, what I call corporate iwi, at the very top of the Maori tree. And what they are doing is they are getting large amounts of money, and they are keeping it to themselves. And I have a Maori friend who's a forensic accountant, and he says to me, he told me that he is inundated with requests from tribes to see what's happened to all the money that's gone to the top of the tree of their tribe and not gone to anybody else. So you guys at the back, if you would sit and listen, I would be helping you. I'm enthusiastic about this group down here. You guys are on steroids and you're nearly catching it. Alright, go. We are fighting with government departments which are now run by activists. Let me tell you what happened to my own land. The reason that I got involved in this was because I own 3.5 acres of beautiful beachfront land. Last year, I received a letter from Heritage New Zealand, which is pretty much like a Maori down in Wellington, and they sent me a letter saying, we have just reclassified your land as Wahitapa. And I said, no, you're not. You're not going to do that. You're not. Please come and have a seat, man. Here's one for you.
You got prosecuted.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And so what happened was, Heritage New Zealand gave me this letter. I said, I'm not having that. I said, how can I appeal? They said, you can appeal in 3 years' time. By then they would have changed the rules, so you can't appeal. So what happens now is it's private freehold land.
Stolen.
Then I found stolen. Thank you for that word. Then I found out 500 Otago farmers had the same thing happen to them.
What's stolen?
So we have freehold land that I've worked for all my life being stolen from me. People can walk over the land. People can walk over the land, and they can now just use my land, and I've lost control of it.
This is a hired event for your benefit. You have been asked to keep order and have your questions for the end of the hui, please. If you've got mana, you'll show respect, thank you.
I've come to see what lies before
We are.
to us
Oh, come on.
who own the land.
You and Lloyd must be animated.
We can. Yeah, but as usual, you got the wrong end of the stick. I mean animated in a positive way. You're just like a muppet who is just being animated. European lawyers and consultants who have sold their soul for our country.
They stole
There are consultants and lawyers in Wellington and around the country who are European, who are working for elite Maori making an awful lot of money. And they don't care that the country is going down the drain.
We are doing it for ourselves, by ourselves.
I'm trying to let
You come and work my laptop for
you
me.
keep quiet.
Alright. We're at war with Christian churches who have become woke. Who have simply become woke. They haven't studied the truth, they haven't studied history, and they're trying to be cool, trying to earn brownie points with Maori, but they haven't understood the issues that we're facing. And churches, I am a Christian, I'm a preacher, and they have churches that I know have become woke and ineffective because they've just joined in and they haven't really studied history, they haven't studied the issues. Now I have a book here that I have written, and every single one of you would have got one of these books. It's called Co-Governance, what it is, why it's wrong, and why it must be stopped. Now in here, I actually give you the reasons why churches have become woke. So I'd like you to read that. Next one, please. Put your finger on there.
You come out food public.
We are now warring with the laid-back nature of European Kiwis whose mantra is she'll be right, until they taste tribal rule, and then tears will flow in the gutters of our streets. Do you know this? That Maori tribes are not satisfied until somebody's dominant. That's how it was pre-1840. And if you think that the elite Maori at the top of the tree, look, Maori pre-1840 had one tribe that was dominant, and they will have one. You will become slaves of the dominant tribe. Let's keep your own, please. Don't you watch that crowd. Just follow me. Okay. This is Chris Hipkins, our Prime Minister, and this is what he had to say about co-governance. Turn it up, please. No, you don't turn it up. She'll turn it up. No, it's okay. He hasn't started talking yet. It's got to go right up.
Co-governance should be different things in different situations. We should have a mature discussion about it.
I don't know what's going on.
We should make sure that
It's the red one.
New Zealanders what we're doing and why we're doing it. As I indicated yesterday, the last national government entered a multitude of co-governance arrangements during their time in office. In fact, some of the co-governance, or some of the examples put forward by the National Party yesterday of initiatives that they support have elements of co-governance within them. So if we think about, Kura Kaupapa, for example, the Wānanga, even Whanaora, there's elements of co-governance within that.
Okay, next one. Click the button, please. This is Chris Luxton. Click it. Oh, sorry, I'll have to start it off. Wait. I'm sorry.
Co-governance has been messily handled and explained by this government because they haven't been upfront on such a big constitutional issue. They haven't taken people with them, and as a consequence, become increasingly divisive across New Zealand.
What do you mean by the conversation that you immature around co-governance?
Well, it has been. It's been immature and divisive because essentially the Prime Minister hasn't come forward, spent her huge political capital making the case to the New Zealand people and taking them with her on it, and then having a decent debate and discussion about it. We've been calling for a decent discussion about it.
So what we're doing tonight is we're having a decent discussion about co-governance. That's what we're doing. So I'm obeying the Prime Minister and I'm obeying the Leader of the Opposition. And that's what we're doing. We're having a discussion about co-governance. And it happens to be what I believe about it, and if you have a different opinion, then you can have it too next week. So this week is Friday. Okay. Keep going here. Keep breaking. Okay, keep going. Next one. So, who are we warring with? Who started this war? Keep going. You just have to keep clicking. It's a war between tribal representatives or elite Maori and the rest of New Zealand. Sometimes they're called treatyists. Radical Maori, elite Maori, treatyists are a distinct group. They're not the same as the ordinary Maori on the street. There may be only 1,000 of them in number. Keep going. They do not represent all Maori or the vast majority of Kiwis. Keep going. We are fighting for Maori and for the 159 other cultures in New Zealand. Keep going. I have friends who are Maori, like I said, and they are as angry about the situation the tribal leaders have created in New Zealand as I am. Keep going. Tribal leaders are feathering their own nests out of nothing but to further their own self-interest. Keep going. If they are not stopped, New Zealand is headed to becoming the Zimbabwe of the South Pacific. Next one. Keep going. There are 160 cultures in New Zealand. Keep going. Just keep Indians. You just flick through them. Chinese, Africans, Russians, Czechs, Japanese, Samoans, French, Australians, Tongans, Germans, Croatians, Eskimos, Belgians, British, South Americans, Koreans, South Africans, Italians, Nueans, Filipinos. These are people who pay taxes in New Zealand, and we should be treated equally because they are all the same before God. And you cannot try and tell me that they are lesser than you. Do not even think about trying to tell me that they are lesser than you, and that you are superior, and that you are superior because you are not. Keep going. This is Tiffany O'Regan. Tiffany O'Regan, keep focus on me, not them. Tiffany O'Regan is a Ngāi Tahu leader. He said this. Keep going, please. You have to click through so you keep me. So Tiffany O'Regan has been known to hint that if the Ngāi Tahu and other claims before the Waitangi Tribunal are not met, there is a danger that Maori activists may resort to violence to achieve their objectives. That, folks, is a statement of war. That is a statement of war. He's saying if we don't get what we want, we're going to go to war. I didn't start this war, he did. Keep going. This is Ken Mair, leader of the militant Te Ahaka group. And this is what he said. Keep going. We will take back our country by any means. By any means. What he means this. He means that violence is not off the table. He means that violence is not off the table. We've never talked about violence. I don't promote violence. I never will promote violence. What I am doing is I am promoting peaceful resolution of issues by coming and talking to people around New Zealand. Keep going, please. Next one, please. This is my friend Waititi. Please keep going. You focus on me, not them. It has a 25-year plan. They want self-management, self-determination and self-governance over all their domains. That means that they would have their own education system, justice, health and everything else. They want a completely separate country. Okay, next. They want a separate Maori parliament with 15 to 17 seats, control over 20 billion in annual self-managed spending. They want the abolishing of full and final treaty settlements. That's what they want. They do not want to have full and final treaty settlements. It's off the table. They want ongoing $20 billion every year forever. They want the handing back of all conservation land to Maori. Keep going, please. This is what lawyer and historian Stuart C. Scott asserts this. Keep going. He says, claiming has become an integral part of the Maori way of life. Next one. The thought of the extinction of further claiming rights by final settlements is abhorrent to the race. Keep going. Maoridom does not want settlement. It wants to nurse its grievances and continue its claiming ad infinitum. Don't go too fast. You've got to really listen. Okay, next, keep going. Keep going. The push by tribal leaders for co-governance and partnership, if it's not stopped, is going to destroy New Zealand. So what is co-governance? Well, here I'm going to explain. Because you came tonight to learn about co-governance. And so I'm going to teach you. Keep going, please. Keep going. What does it mean for New Zealand? Well, in terms of government, this is what co-governance means. This is Nainama Huda, who was one of the architects of Hei Puapu. Yeah. And this is what she has actually said. Now, these slides come from the New Zealand Centre for Political Research, but this is what the problem is. Okay, come on, now let's go. Keep going. Two complete governments that overlap. I'm explaining to you what co-governance actually is. It means two governments that overlap. Next one. A new written constitution based on a new interpretation of the Treaty of Waitangi. At least 5% of all new procurement contracts must now go to Maori businesses. In other words, 5% of all business has got to go to Maori in government procurement contracts. Why? They're not superior. Maori's not superior. Why are they getting a special business deal? It's wrong. That, my friends, is apartheid. That in the 70s and 80s we said apartheid was wrong, and we fought against that. And you're saying it's right, I'm saying it's wrong. The media, specific guidelines for the media. 55 million public information journalism fund established. Next one, keep it going, watch me not then. If media outlets want a slice of this fund, there are strict conditions. You cannot present a point of view that opposes the government's race-based agenda. News must cover stories that support the government-approved narrative. My friends, this is North Korean-style media government in New Zealand. This is North Korea come to New Zealand. Come on, what do you think of that? The dock and land. Keep going, please. Transfer ownership and control of the entire conservation estate to tribal authorities. That means every time you go to a forest or a park or a ski field, you're going to have to pay a tribal toll. How do you feel about that? How do you feel about that? Yes or no? You guys down here haven't said boo all night. I want you to sharpen up, please. Okay. Good boy. Because I know you're watching carefully. The Department of Conservation has now formed an options development group which is planning to say how they can take the whole of the country. This group has made a recommendation to give full control and governance of all dock land to Maori. Government rezones privately owned land and gives rights over it to Maori. This is not fantasy, this has actually happened to me. And 500 Otago farmers. It's wrong. It's apartheid. It's separatism. It's division. And it's completely wrong. And I'm here to say it's wrong. Okay, next one. Keep going. Education. This is what co-governance means for education. Rewriting New Zealand's history. They're making Maori, saying that Maori pre-1840 were beautiful people living in peace and just having a lovely time lying on the beach with their children. That's a lie. They were warring. Between 1800 and 1840, half of the population of Maori in New Zealand were destroyed. That was Maori fighting Maori in the musket war. That's a fact. Keep going, please. Showing pre- and post-European Maori as different from what was observed and recorded by early Europeans. Next one, teaching critical race theory. Teaching little kids, teaching little children. Whites are bad, Maori are good. That's wrong. That's wrong. Teaching racial bias. Next one. Teaching primary school children without Maori ancestry to feel ashamed. So they want your little white children, your little European children, to come home from school feeling guilty and ashamed of being white. That's wrong. Next one. What does it mean for the health? Come on. 2 healthcare systems. A Maori healthcare system, which we already have, funded by the taxpayer. Decision-making and veto rights over the entire health system. Most people don't realise this, but there's two health spheres, two systems. Maori are going to have veto power over our one as well, not just their own. Did you realise that? They can tell us what to do. Maori patients prioritised. Can we keep going? Keep going. Justice. 2 justice systems. A Maori court system where offenders with a Maori ancestry will be treated differently from other offenders. 2 jail systems. Keep going. Maori jails where inmates with a Maori ancestor will be treated differently from other inmates. Western common law replaced by tikanga or Maori customs and practices. See Justin Churchman's decision 2021. People of Maori ancestry will be given greater legal rights. What do you call that? That's called apartheid. That's called apartheid. That's called apartheid. You give Maori special rights or anybody special rights. Thank you. High five. Thank you for that. This is for water. Keep going, please. Granting Maori rights to all fresh water. Councils pay Maori for water. We've already got that now. Water costs and rates will go up. Giving Maori funding to cover all legal costs to claim the seabed and foreshore from mean high tide out to 12 nautical miles. Keep going. Keep going. Opponents to Maori must find their own legal costs. What does it mean for the... Keep it going. Keep going. Local council, here we have decision making and veto rights. So for your local council, Maori will have veto rights over what goes on in your land. So the council could say A, B, C, they say no, it's going to be D, E, and F. The abolition of the right of local communities to hold a binding referendum on Maori ward seats or councils. You now have no longer any say as a council, as people in a council area to have a referendum. You can't actually stop something going through now. Keep going, please. Local government minister Mahuta is now undertaking a review, and it appears likely that it will lead to 50%, too fast, I didn't finish reading it, you've got to listen to me. 50% of the council seats being held by Maori. Okay, now you're right, don't worry about your phone. Okay, keep going. Now, here's the question. This is the question. This is the guts of what you've come here tonight.
Simple as that.
We're going to talk now about. We're now going to talk about the Treaty of Waitangi.
Absolutely.
Te Tiri Waitangi. Keep going, please. Don't worry about your camera. Put your phone down, please. Is it a coup? Keep going. To answer these questions, we have to go back to the Treaty of Waitangi, which has become, rightly or wrongly, our country's founding document. Okay, keep going.
Absolutely.
The treaty makes no mention of a partnership or co-governance. Keep going. No, that's too fast. Go back. You've got to go back. You've got to listen to me. Let me show you. Okay. Just keep going, please. The Littlewood draft. I'm using the Littlewood draft, which is the final draft in English by written by James Busby and William Hobson. It was called as such because actually what happened was this. Please listen to this because I'm going to teach you a little bit of history. What happened was 3 men wrote out the treaty in English. Hobson, Busby and Clinton. On the night before it was signed by chiefs at Waitangi. And what happened was they made a draft in English. It was given to the Williams father and son to translate overnight. The English draft was given to a lawyer whose name was Littlewood. And that draft was lost until 1989, and it was found in the top drawer of a chest of drawers in Pukekohe in 1989. It was lost for all those years. Now the only way, listen to me, I'm teaching you some history. The only way that you can tell whether it was the final draft was to look at the treaty in Maori and this final Littlewood draft. And if you look at the two of them together side by side, they are identical. Which tells you that this was indeed the final draft. Forensic analysis has shown that this draft was the final English draft before it was translated into Maori. Maori is the treaty. The treaty in Maori is the treaty. It's the real treaty. And that's the one that we should be looking at and obeying and using. But we're not. My book tells why not. And it's fraud. So if you want to know what the Maori version says to Te Tiriti, read the Littlewood draft. Okay, keep going please. They are identical. Keep going. The Maori version is the treaty. It was signed by all of the chiefs except 39, and those 39 were the ones that signed on the Manukau heads. Every other chief signed the Maori treaty in Maori, except the 39 in Manukau. Okay, here we go. Keep going, please. Article 1. Here is Article 1 of the treaty. The chiefs, this is what the treaty actually says. If you would be so kind to listen. If you would be so kind to listen. The chiefs of the Confederation of United Tribes and the other chiefs who have not joined the Confederation cede to the Queen of England forever the entire sovereignty of their country. Now I want you to say that with me. Cede to the Queen forever the entire sovereignty of their country. That is serious language, and that means everything. Hang on to that language. Cede means to give up or give somebody control. Sovereignty means government or complete power to govern a country. Does this article teach, instruct or convey the idea that Maori would be self-determining, having their own government? Or that the Queen entered into a partnership with Maori? Yes or no? Does that article, hang on a minute, does that article teach that the Queen entered into a partnership with Maori, yes or no? It does not. Let's have a look at this. Okay, keep going please, Susan. If we extrapolate out the word seed and sovereignty, this is how the Article 1 reads. Go on. The chiefs of the Confederation of United Tribes and the other chiefs who join the Confederation give up to the Queen of England forever the entire right to govern their country. Keep going, please. Co-governance. Keep going. It's an impossible interpretation. Keep going. Partnership. Keep going. It's an impossible interpretation. Okay. Let's go on to Article 2 of the treaty. There's only 3 articles in the treaty. Let's go on to Article 2. Separatism said, Separatism was New Zealand's greatest Maori. He was New Zealand's greatest Maori. This is what he said. These are but, is that my mouse going on you? These are but few words. He's talking about Article 1. But they indicate a complete cession. Keep going. Susan, keep going please. This was the transfer by the Maori chiefs to the Queen of England forever for the governance of their lands. Keep going. It is the absolute authority over the Maori people which the article transmits into the hands of the Queen and Parliamentary Council. The main purport was the transferring of the authority of the Maori chiefs for making laws to their respective tribes and sub-tribes under the Treaty of Waitangi to the Queen of England forever. Sir Aparananata, who could speak fluent Te Reo, he went round all of the Maoris in New Zealand. He was speaking in Maori to Maori, and this is what he told them. This was translated so I could give it to you tonight. That is what he said. Come on, give Sir Aparananata a clap. Next one, please, Susan. You guys are fantastic in the front row here. You're great. Keep it going. Okay, keep going, please, Susan. It was this first article of the treaty which transferred the chiefly authority of your ancestors affecting you and your future generations. He was talking to Maori on Marais when he was a minister in Parliament. The treaty made one law for the Maori and Pākehā. If you think things are wrong and bad, then blame our ancestors. This is him talking. Then blame our ancestors who gave away their rights in the days when they were very powerful. Keep going, please. This is what he was saying. This is Sir Aparananata, New Zealand's greatest Maori. He did not mince words. And he said that Maori chiefs ceded sovereignty to the Queen forever. Give us a clap for that. Come on. Give us a clap for that. Here is the second article. The Queen of England confirms and guarantees to the chiefs and the tribes and all the people of New Zealand, notice, and to all the people of New Zealand, to possession of their lands, dwellings, and all their property. But the chiefs of the Confederation of the United Tribes and the other chiefs grant to the Queen the exclusive right to purchasing such lands as the proprietors thereof may be disposed to sell at such prices as may be agreed upon between them and the person appointed by the Queen. Next one, please. Keep it going. Does this article teach, instruct, convey the idea that Maori would be self-determining, having their own government? No, it does not. Or that the Queen entered into a partnership with Maori? No. Yes or no? The answer is no. Keep going. Article 2. Keep going. Keep going. Co-governance. Does it teach co-governance? Article 2. No, it does not. It's an impossible interpretation. Does it teach partnership? No, it does not. It's an impossible interpretation. Now we go to the final. Now we go to the final article of the Treaty of Waitangi. There's only 3 articles. This is the third one. In return for the cession of their sovereignty to the Queen, the people of New Zealand shall be protected by the Queen of England, and the rights and privileges of British subjects will be granted to them. Do you know what? tell you something here. Let me tell you something here. You were made, Maori chiefs and all Maori in New Zealand were made British citizens. That means you had the right to go on British roads, use bridges, hospitals, schools, nurses, doctors, everything that we have here has been established by Europeans through the British government going back to 1840. And Maori are taking part of that and enjoying the benefits of British rule. Do you know this? Here's a young man who said to me, honour the treaty. You know what you should... Okay, let me... Do you want... No. Okay, no, forget it. No. It's okay. Keep going, please. Keep going. Does this article teach, instruct, convey the idea that Maori would be self-determining, having their own government? Yes or no? Or that the Queen entered into a partnership with Maori? Keep going, yes or no? Keep going, please. Keep going. Co-governance. Keep going, please, Susan. Co-governance, no. An impossible interpretation. Partnership, no. An impossible... You can't get... Hang on a minute. You can't get co-governance or partnership from Article 3. You can't get it from Article 2. You can't get it from Article 1. You can't get it from the treaty. Come on, you guys. There's nothing against that. I'd love to come down the middle here. I'm telling you, you can't get co-governance or partnership from the Treaty of Waitangi. There's the story. Keep going, please. If you don't believe me, believe Winston Peters. This is what he says. Come on. Winston Peters. Does the treaty mean partnership? It is truly staggering that a claim of partnership for Maori is being made on the basis of the Treaty of Waitangi when Queen Victoria was not in partnership with anyone in the UK or the British Empire on the day before the 6th or the day after 1840. Never did the Queen of England ever enter into a partnership with anybody. Keep going. Judge Anthony Wiley said this. He's a retired district court judge and Canterbury University law lecturer. He noted this. Keep going. Maori and the Crown are not partners in any sense of the word. It is constitutionally impossible for the Crown to enter into a partnership with any of its subjects. Because if it did, the Crown would be in partnership with itself. And you can't have that. Okay, keep going, please. Keep going. Former Labour Prime Minister David Longy said this. Did Queen Victoria for a moment think of forming a partnership with a number of signatures, a number of thumbprints and 500 people? This is David Longy talking. He was Prime Minister of New Zealand. Queen Victoria was not that sort of person. This is what he said. Keep going. We can have a democratic form of government or we can have indigenous sovereignty.
Absolutely.
Keep going. They can't coexist and we can't have them both. Did you hear that? You can't have democracy and co-governance. They are mutually exclusive. I want you to give me a clap on that. You can't have that. Come on. Stand up to your feet. I want you to get up. I want you to get up. Come on, get up out of your feet. I want you to get up. Thank you for standing up. I want you to stand up. Thank you. Thank you for standing. Because that's the truth. That's not me, that's David Longy. And he was no slug up here. Keep going. Dr. John Robinson. Many of the activists and the iwi leaders intend a totally dual government system with separate Maori and non-Maori houses of parliament and a Maori veto on all legislation. A Maori veto on all legislation means private tribal companies have the final say on everything that goes on in New Zealand, on what laws and legislation are passed and accepted in both houses. Notice this word both. Dr. Robinson goes on to say the words in the Hei Puapua report insist that power, full authority, must go to Maori. If you keep going with with co-governance, Maori are going to control New Zealand, that's right. Because I'm a citizen there. I'm a citizen, you're a citizen. We are equal. Nobody is superior. Keep going, Susan. Keep going. The proposal of Matiki Mai Aotearoa gives the iwi leadership around 3/4 of the power to rule the entire country together with a veto in the joint sphere, in other words, the other quarter. Everyone else will be disenfranchised. Keep going. This is a blueprint for the complete rule of New Zealand by a determined minority. Do you want to have a Maori dictatorship in New Zealand, yes or no? If you don't want a Maori dictatorship, stand up. Alright, sit down, thank you. That's about 2/3 of the room. If you would like a Maori dictatorship, stand up. Okay, we want. Give yourselves a clap because we won. Okay, Susan, keep going. What's the conclusion? A coup, myself, is in progress in New Zealand. Please don't be naive and easily fooled. Co-governance is not about co-governance. Co-governance is a code word for a plan by tribal representatives of legally private tribal companies to take over New Zealand. That's the fact. That is the truth. And we've got to get that tonight because that is what the truth is. Keep going. If we don't stop co-governance, New Zealand is headed to becoming a Zimbabwe of the South Pacific. Keep going. Are you happy with that? Are you happy with that? Let me pass. Are you happy with that? Come on. We're not going to have that. Keep going. Okay, this is what I'm calling you to do. You guys have been fantastic. Well, the front 3 rows anyway. You've been awesome. 4 rows. You guys have been really great. All right, this is what I want you to do. Here we go. Let's go, please, Susan. Then what's the plan? Repeal all race-based legislation. Give us a clap for that. Come on. Repeal all race-based legislation. Any legislation that puts one group above another is wrong. Because it's apartheid. Because it's separatism. Launch a royal commission to investigate the trail of Treaty of Waitangi fraud and corruption. I want you to get this book. I want you to listen to me. Stop it. I want you guys to get this book and to buy hundreds of copies and to start handing them out everywhere like chicken feed, please. Because I believe that the words in this book are powerful enough to change New Zealand's history. Because what they do is the words in this book, they detail the fraud from 1975 to 2023 of Treaty of Waitangi fraud. And we've got to take the lid off it and expunge it from all of New Zealand's dealings. Thank you. Next one, please. Vote for the party which is going to completely outlaw co-governance, not just tinker with it, rearranging the deck chairs. Next one. We want to stage a peaceful rally in Auckland, and by the way, I want you guys at the back, my Maori friends, I want you to be at that protest, because I need 100,000, so you better get busy on Facebook. We want 100,000 people in Auckland to protest against co-governance, because it's wrong. Next one, please. Only a show of solidarity will force our politicians into solid policy legislation commitments to outlaw co-governance. Next one. Votes speak most loudly, so only a visible demonstration of voter abhorrence to co-governance will affect real political change. Next one, please. Sign up to that website and get my blogs. Next one, please. Ask all your friends and neighbours to do the same. Next one, please. How can we help you? Okay, let's go. Please. Next one. We have a business card that you were given in your little pack that you got here. It's got a video in it, it's got my book in it, and it's got a petition. I just want you to take the book that I've given you seriously. Thank you. One more thing just before we go, because we're nearly finished. You guys have been incredible. And you know what? You Maori down the back, you haven't been too bad tonight. You know what? You haven't been too bad. Come on, you haven't been too bad. Thank you. Okay, next one, Susan. This is our business card. Show the business card. Okay, you can get that from him. Keep going, please. Give them out to everyone, everywhere. We do this as free service, kindly paid for, and Jeff's dedication. That's the end of our show tonight. Now, what we're going to do... Thank you. What we're going to do now is we're going to have question and answer time. But what I'm not going to allow you to do, you know what, this has been the most lively meeting we've had. Yeah, I used to teach kids at school, and the classroom atmosphere in here is pretty much the same as you get in some of the high schools in New Zealand. Right, okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to have a question and answer time, but this is not a time for you to tell me all your stories. This is a time for ask a question. Not you take the microphone and go on about some issue that you want to talk about, because we're just going to turn you off. You just turn them off, okay? If you get that. Okay, there's a lady over here. So please stand up so we can see you, please.
So you gave us your definition of what co-governance is, but I'm actually after what is the definition of co-governance?
That is the definition.
Your version around it, but what is the actual definition?
That is the definition of co-governance.
What?
Those things I just showed you.
No, but
you can't just put it into it. Hang on, I'm just answering your question.
Yeah.
You can't put it into a nice little neat package that's 5 or 6 words.
Why not?
Because co-governance is illegal. It's illegal.
That's a giant leap.
I'm giving you your answer. It's illegal. Next question. Yes, sir. Hang on, this guy's got a question. Oh, this guy down the back. Sorry, just wait a second.
No, you go first.
You go first. Can you give him a microphone? Where's the other microphone? The second one. Quickly, Terry.
I won't need one.
Yes, you do.
I've got a question for you, and I've got a question for my Ngāpuhi people.
Yep.
Right, the question for you.
Yep.
How many Maoris are in Parliament now?
Not enough.
Hang on. He's asked me to answer. They are overrepresented in Parliament. In other words, Maori are 15% of the population.
70.
But of the number of MPs who are in Parliament at the moment, there's something like 25% of the MPs are Maori. In other words, there's more Maori represented in Parliament than any other race in New Zealand. And that's why the Maori seats need to be scrapped. Okay, next question.
So they're well represented.
They're well represented.
Okay, a question for you Ngāpuhis. Ngāti Manu, or whichever ones you want. I'm Ngāti Manu. I'm Ngāti Manu, alright? No.
Hang on, sit
Sit down and shut up. How would you people like to be controlled? Can you be quiet, please?
I've got to get
Julia!
Right. Now I can ask you guys, how are you going to be controlled by Tainui? Since when have Ngāpuhi ever been controlled by Tainui? Never. So why now?
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Those are good questions. Thank you. Give a clap. Thank you. Well done. Okay, next question down the back. Yes, sir.
Okay, would you agree that policy should be sorted out within a party, whether it be Labour or whether it be National? And would you agree that MMP is the most divisive form of government we've ever had?
MMP is an absolute disaster. And all parties should be clear about co-governance. And at the moment they're not. You just heard Mr. Hipkins. He was all over the place saying it's hard to define. We don't know what it means. It means a lot of different things to different people. You know why he's saying that? Because he knows all this. He knows all this, but he doesn't want to lose the election by getting it out there. That's the truth. That's the truth. And Mr. Luxon, he doesn't know us what I've taught tonight. So he's at the opposite end of the spectrum. Take one.
No, I didn't.
Did that answer your... Did that answer your question, sir? Yeah. Thank you very much. Okay, next question. Yes, sir. Yes, this lady here. Hello. Yes,
hi, how are you? I would like to ask a couple of questions.
Just one. You only have one. This is like a game show. Only one.
Okay. Because Mahuta, I don't know her other name.
No.
Okay. She's the Minister of
Foreign Affairs.
Foreign Affairs. Okay. So
and local government.
Why are they having their code governance label a private company when, say, DOC or school system or the hospitals, are they public or private? I think really the issue people, well, the public or the private, if it's a private corporate, it goes in a different way how it operates. It's not accountable to everybody except their shareholders and stakeholders, which we aren't.
No. Hang on.
But like the Darklands, you know, how they're governed, how is that different to
when we talk
they
about
want to co-govern when they have, say, the Dark estate?
It's not a private company. It's it's run and managed by Maori.
No, it's not.
That's what's going to happen. Okay. If the separate health system is run by people appointed by, I can't walk in front of my speakers, is run by people appointed by Maori, then they don't all have to be Maori, they can have Europeans, but it's Maori who make the decisions about that health authority. There might be Europeans working in there, but it's Maori who make the decisions about what goes on in that Maori health authority. That's the fact. And the same with DOC. It might be Europeans who work in all the forests and fisheries and everything else, but it's Maori who make the decisions about what goes on in those forests and fisheries. Okay. Next question, somebody?
There's one over there.
Okay.
Why are you actively...
You spoke about New Zealand being 50% Maori, our government being 25%, you said that.
No, I didn't
Our government being 25% Maori. And you're saying Chris Hipkins is scared to talk about conversations that you don't agree with because he's scared to lose the vote. Well, if our numbers are so little, what's he scared of?
Exactly.
Because what's happened is this, you haven't been listening tonight. You spend too much time shouting out.
No, he's scared
You
that
spend too
people
much time shouting out and not listening. I'm going to give you an answer if you'll be prepared to listen to it.
If you're prepared to listen to my question. Now really think about my question before you answer.
I'm going to answer this. Mr. Hipkins, he knows all about co-governance. He knows about it completely. But he is trying to fudge it by telling everybody that it's too hard to define, you can't define it, and it's fuzzy.
You told us
he knows all about it. He knows exactly what co-governance is all about.
Do you?
That's what I showed you
No,
tonight.
that's your perspective of it.
Okay, if you think it's something different, you run it next week, come in here and say what it is.
See you next week.
No, I won't be here, I'm doing another tour around the country, I'll be speaking at other locations. I'm not going to come, listen, and you only get me for one night if you're lucky, and you got me tonight. So, next week it's your turn, you come and tell us all what co-governance is, put out flyers, do Facebook advertising, do the whole thing, bring the sound system, do everything, and let's have it recorded so we'll hear. Yes sir, go on.
I've got one question.
Yeah, go on, you're only allowed one.
Have you always been a racist? Or is it something that you have learned recently?
Well, I have been following you on Facebook and I'm copying a lot of what you say. All right, next one, please. Next one. Next question, please.
Could you please define what co-governance is in your words? Because all you've done is bashed Māori.
Yep.
You've not actually paid homage to any government in this country, because you've also bashed them. Because you've told us that they have not developed policy that is fair and just and reasonable. But all night I've been waiting to hear what your definition of co-governance is. What are the solutions for co-governance, and how your and how you propose that we in this room come to a consensus about it.
Okay, I'll tell you how to come to. I'll tell you exactly how to come to consensus. You scrap co-governance because it's illegal. And everybody agrees it's illegal and it should be taken out of all government policy, and all government, all parties should have a statement saying we're going to outlaw co-governance completely because it's not in the Treaty of Waitangi. And that is our founding document. So there's your answer. Yes, sir.
Good evening. Ko Adrian Hum, tōku ingoa. What the hell makes you think that after decades and decades of... I hear people say, oh, I've got Maori friends. We've always got on as one in this country. Well, I came here 29 years ago, and at last, it seems like Maori are making progress on social and so many issues. What the hell makes you think that scrapping co-governance is going to lead to some utopian bloody country where everybody loves one another? You are sowing the seeds for revolution, my friend, rather than co-governance.
Okay, next question, that's not worth answering, because you're just woke. Okay, next one, please. Next question. Yeah, go on. Okay, I've been wanting to hear from you.
Oh, thank you. Yes,
how's it going?
It's going really well.
What's going well? Your car or life?
Oh, life is all, we had Cyclone Gabriel, and now we've got Cyclone, whatever your name is over. Oh, Julie. Okay, so my question to you is, so you've got all of the community here, you've got everyone rolled up, you're off to your next campaign evening.
Yeah.
What are you actually going to do with all of the information and everything that you've seen here tonight? What are you going to do in a democratic way to actually change the co-governance
You haven't been listening. Listen, I am not going to repeat myself. Can I take that microphone off here, please, quickly, because I don't want people who are asking good questions. I'm telling you what I'm doing. You were not listening. I told you I wanted to get 100,000 people to Auckland Domain to protest against all the political parties to take out co-governance completely from their policy. You heard me. You need to listen.
Right, I got one here for you. Come here.
Where's the microphone?
I would like to know what are you going to actually do for the Pākehā and for the Maori equally. And you've come to our community.
Yeah.
Okay, so what are you going to do for my Maori friends and my Pākehā friends here equally? What are you actually? If you're wanting our votes? What are you trying to perceive?
Well, first of all, I don't want your votes. I'm not a political party. I'm not a political party. I'm not voting for any political party.
What's your name, sir?
David.
David, thank you, David. I'm not with any political party. I'm not trying to back for any political party. I'm hitting one issue, and I'm saying the best thing I can do for Maori and for Pākehā and the Chinese and the Japanese and the Croatians and anybody else in this community, I'm saying the best thing I can do is scrap co-governance. If you want a good future, and your children and your grandchildren, you scrap co-governance. Okay, this is the last question tonight because I think we're sort of getting there like the end of the night at the pub. So let's make this the last question. Okay, yes sir, you can have the last question. Can you speak to me in English please, because I'm an English. No, I don't know what you're saying, mate. Okay, next question.
Well, I just like to speak since you never gave us the time, first and foremost. Let's be fair, sir, you had your time to speak. Yeah, that's all right. He asked me, I'm allowed to speak now. We listen to you, but you can't listen to us. I see how it is now. I see how it
is. Here's our sergeant, please.
This shouldn't even be happening yet. It's ridiculous.
Okay.
This is